My name is Wyn and welcome to my channel, or welcome back I suppose. I don't want to sound like a sort of YouTuber broken record, but it is very nice to have you here because you think that I'm worth listening to, so thank you for that. It's been a long time. And that is due to multiple reasons. I had a couple of YouTube shorts, I believe, talking about the main two reasons, that are uni and my phone. I got a new phone at the beginning of this year. Finally. I was due an upgrade because my parents and my brother had got a new one, but I was taught to kind of hold on to things for as long as I can, really, because, you know, I don't like to spend money, I suppose, unnecessarily if something is still working. And whilst it was working, for the most part, you know, I could still make calls on it and text people. I couldn't really film videos because my phone couldn't really cope with anything over like 10 minutes. And then that, coupled with the fact that I went back to uni, and then this year has been so much harder for me in terms of my anxiety. It's been hard to find the time, I suppose. But thank you for bearing with me if you're somebody that has watched and commented on my videos before. Really do appreciate it so very much. I do miss doing this as well. Since I last spoke to you, Marcus Brooks, who is who runs the Peter Cushing Appreciation Society in Britain, which has been running since like 1957. It's amazing, honestly. He saw one of my videos and he left a really lovely comment, so yeah, thank you ever so much, Marcus. Whether you're watching or not, it's okay if you're not, of course. Honestly, I'm surprised that anybody wants to watch my videos, let alone essentially like Cushing fan royalty, if you will. So today is the last, finally, in my series of videos called Cushing in the Studio that Drip Blood. Just a little reminder that Amicus was, Amicus Productions was sometimes known as the studio that Drip Blood. Not to be confused with the film The House That Drip Blood, and I think at least on one of the thumbnails for this series I did actually write The House That Drip Blood when I wasn't talking about The House That Drip Blood. I think I've mentioned there are two portmanteaus that are not contained within this series. First of all, there's Vault of Horror, which does not star Cushing, so I'm not going to be looking at it in a Cushing series. And then there's also Monster Club, which I forget his name, I'm afraid, but one of my viewers mentioned in a comment once. But Monster Club, whilst it is also a portmanteau, and involved Milton Subotsky, I think likely behind the writing, some sort of producer, writing person. It was produced after the two founders, Max J. Rosenberg and Milton Subotsky, had parted ways, and Amicus was no more at that point, unfortunately. But you know, it was kind of like towards the late 70s, 80s that Hammer 2 sadly started to come to an end of what was frankly an amazing golden era, if you will. I am planning on doing a separate video on non-Cushing portmanteaus, and Vault of Horror will definitely be there. It is definitely worth watching. Obviously, whilst I have said plenty of times that I do believe that Cushing is the greatest actor to ever walk this earth, there are a number of other actors who were working at this time involved in this film. So Vault of Horror, I think that's the one that stars Terry Thomas, and also Tom Baker. Edward Judd, I believe, has a small role as well, and there's an actress whose name I've forgotten, who I believe was in Mary Poppins, actually, but and if I got that wrong, I do apologise. It's late, my head's a little bit fuzzy, but yeah, if I've forgotten anything, I'll put it in the screen when I do the edit. Today we're going to be talking, sorry for that long introduction, but we're going to be talking about From Beyond the Grave, 1974, I believe. Brilliant cast, as always. I think that something that's pretty special about From Beyond the Grave, not only is it a brilliant one to finish with, you know, they really went out strong with this one, despite it being, you know, I suppose it's really for the fans. It's brilliant that there are some weaker films in the series, which, I don't know, you see, I find it really hard saying that, because all of the films in the Cushing, not Cushing, well, yes, Cushing, but I mean the whole of the, all of the Amicus portmanteaus that we have available to us, or rather, all the Amicus portmanteaus that were made, even, they're all brilliant, but I think that this one is particularly strong, and I'm very glad that they ended with this one. What's special about this one is that, like the first of the portmanteaus, Cushing plays the host, if you will, of the framing story. He played Dr. Terror, or Dr. Shrek, in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors in 1965, and then in this film he plays the shopkeeper. I don't think he has a name. Sorry, I've done something funny to my leg. There we go. He plays this unnamed shopkeeper with a pretty good Yorkshire accent, a believable one, I would say. He's not, any fan of Cushing will know that he wasn't particularly known for his accents, but yes, I would say that the Yorkshire accent is quite a lot better than his attempted German accent in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. But no accent, I think, will ever be as bad as his turn as was it Dr. or Professor Lundgren, I think his name is, in The Beast Must Die. That German accent is very difficult to listen to without stifling a giggle, I'm afraid, but yeah, this is not the case in this one at all. I'm happy to say, I mean, The Beast Must Die is still perfectly watchable, but yeah. But anyway, enough about accents. I do apologise. I'm doing this to kind of just relax a little bit. I'm worrying quite a bit about tomorrow, but thinking about the films that I love always makes me feel an awful lot better. Cushing's, one of Cushing's, if not his first line in this film, is when a customer comes in and he says, "Can I help you at all?" And this portmanteau was the last that I saw, which is of course appropriate because it is the last of the Amicus portmanteaus. But I also, I saw it before. Yeah, so I think I saw it online and then I purchased a transfer copy. And then after that I saw The League of Gentlemen, which is a British, a brilliant modern kind of darkly comic series with Reece Shearsmith, Mark Gatiss, Jeremy Dyson and Steve Pemberton. They are all fans of this kind of era of horror film. Mark Gatiss is more Hammer, but the other three are particularly in love with the Amicus portmanteaus. And Can I Help You At All is what Tubbs says in the local shop for local people, and of course I didn't understand that reference initially until I had seen both this film and said series, so that is fun. So let me see, I haven't really done much prep for this because I feel like I don't like to keep things too scripted because then I think I stumble over my words more. So I will do my best to remember all of the stories, but as always, if I forget anything I will simply put it on screen during the edit. So first of all we have, it's been too long. Yes, we have the story with David Warner. I think that's his name. I always forget his name. I think that's his name. Who purchases from the shop a rather ornate looking mirror. And if I remember rightly, he haggles with the shopkeeper and therefore pays much less for it than it is worth. You know, this is an antique shop. Presumably the shopkeeper knows what these things are worth. But yes, David Warner gets away with paying less than he probably should. So he's with a group of friends and it's somebody comes up with the brilliant idea of hosting a séance, of course, because when somebody does that in a film it always goes perfectly well. And this brings back this the ghost of a bearded man who appears in the mirror, demanding that David Warner bring him, like, blood. So it's a sort of Little Shop of Horrors storyline. Of course, this film does predate Little Shop of Horrors by quite a few years. But yeah, it's not, it's a story that we've sort of, the shape of the story is one that we've heard before, but it is still rather creepy to watch. Warner's character decides to lure the women of the night back to his flat and to kill them so that the man in the mirror can feed off their blood, so that's nice. He begins to hide the bodies under the floorboards, but then as he kills more and more people, the blood begins to, this is quite grim actually, the blood begins to drip down through the floor into the ceiling of the flat below him, and there's this poor guy that lives on his own, reads stories to his cat, who I believe comes up towards the end of the story to the flat to complain about this mysterious substance that's leaking through to his flat. And I'm pretty sure he believes that it's paint. I mean, not only because we are still in Kensington Gore era, but also because, I mean, I suppose few people would immediately think, oh, I know, it's blood. But there is quite a difference, obviously literally, but as I said, Kensington Gore very much resembles poster paint, so I suppose for him it's understandable. I'm pretty sure that the cat and his owners survive the segment, but I will have to double check that before I post this. At the very end of the story, David Warner gets his comeuppance when the figure in the mirror has sustained himself enough through these sacrifices that he's able to step out of the mirror, but he has to trade places with his servant, and so he stabs him and he ends up in the mirror. And then we have a repeat of things when the mirror stays in the house. Generations of families and couples stay in the flat, and then eventually another group of friends decide that they're going to hold a seance. Yeah, no, this one it definitely grips you. It's not, as I said, it's not the most inventive of plots, but there is something about this bearded ghost that is pretty chilling. And it's always good to see David Warner, who is... There was a film that my dad showed me the other day that he was in much later in his career, but just off the top of my head, he was in The Company of Wolves. In The Company of Wolves. Is it called In the Company of Wolves or The Company of Wolves? This film adapted from some Angela Carter stories, / based on some Angela Carter stories, which I like my father because he's more of an Angela Carter fan than I am. He's in that. Yeah, I can't remember whether I've seen him in anything else. I think I have. Like, I'm almost certain that I knew who he was before I saw this film. But yes, seeing the time of this video, I need to get on with the other segment. Took my sweet time with that one. I believe the second segment is one of my favourites. It's the one with Donald Pleasence, his daughter Angela Pleasence, and what's her name? Is it Diane or Diana Dawes, I think, who was in Nothing But the Night, which I believe also came out in 1974, possibly the year before. This one is about a father and husband who works in an office and is frankly quite sick of the way that his wife and his son treat him, and he befriends an ex-army man who's trying to make money by selling matches and shoelaces. This ex-army man, played by Pleasence, eventually invites the man round to his house, and he meets his rather unusual daughter, who knows many, and I quote, jaw-cracking words. She's a little bit odd, and unfortunately he takes advantage of her. He takes advantage of her naivety, but also the fact that she tells him she is willing to do anything for him. He only has to will that she will do so. However, it later turns out that she has some interesting practices on the side. She begins to follow around his wife to cut off a lock of her hair whilst she's on the bus. There's this very vivid dream that his wife has of Angela Pleasence with skeleton makeup on and a black veil advancing towards her, and she imagines that this woman stabs her in the night. and she has made a voodoo doll. And of course, as soon as she suggests to the woman's husband that she get rid of her, he's completely astounded. I mean, she doesn't understand because she doesn't make him very happy. But yeah, she goes ahead with it anyway, and he rushes back home to find his wife. I believe she's called Mabel, to find Mabel dead. And then, as soon as he's discovered the body, the two Pleasences walk into the sound of the wedding march, and the man and Angela Pleasence's character are married. And then, at the very end, Angela Pleasence's character, Emily, I believe, is she asks her new husband if he wants her to cut the cake. He says yes, and she brings her knife down to cut the icing figure on top of the cake, which also turns out to be a voodoo doll. And it turns out that they were really there to help the son get rid of his parents. The twist at the end, honestly, is brilliant. I really didn't see that one coming. And as I said, that scene with Angela Pleasence in the black veil and the skeleton makeup is very well done. Next, I believe, we have the snuff box. Yes, I've just remembered one thing that I left out. The Donald Pleasence story. The man who unfortunately falls victim to Donald Pleasence and his daughter wants to purchase a medal from the antique shop from Cushing to prove to Donald Pleasence that he was in the war. But he doesn't have the necessary paperwork to prove that he won it, so he steals it from Cushing, which obviously is a very bad idea. The third man, this is our comic relief episode, changes the prices round of two snuff boxes so that he can get a better deal. And when he's travelling home on the train one day, this mad woman who, I say mad, eccentric, he definitely thinks that she's mad. This eccentric woman sits opposite him, and she says that he has a demon living on his shoulder, and of course he thinks that she's being ridiculous. I've looked into this woman's filmography, and I don't know, she reminds me of somebody. I've not seen her in anything else, but she reminds me of somebody that I can't quite put my finger on. I can't remember. Just her, I suppose, I don't like saying this, her energy is very similar to that of someone that I've seen in something else. But this woman gives the man her business card because she's a psychic, and she says that she's happy to exorcise the demon for him. He goes back to his wife, played by, what's her name? I always tell myself I'm going to remember this, and then I don't. Because I've filmed this video, because of the issues with my phone, about 4 times, and I swear that on every occasion I've not remembered it. Actress who also starred in The House That Dripped Blood as the nanny to Christopher Lee's daughter. She plays this man's wife, and everything is going absolutely fine until his wife claims that she has been strangled by something, and of course she believes it's her husband, and then she finds claw marks And the dog runs away as well, which is very, and she's of course terrified that her husband's going to hurt her, so they call, I think her name's like Madame Orloff or something, brilliant. And she comes in, she exorcises the demon, it rather messes up their house, but the dog comes back. She claims that dogs can sense that there's something not quite right. So that's all fine. Unfortunately though, the demon has to find somewhere to go when it's exorcised. So, may have been exorcised from the man, but his wife is fair game for said demon to possess. And that last scene at the end, the look on her face is ghoulish. The last story is a very special one because the characters actually remain unscathed by the end of the story because they don't cheat Peter Cushing. This man wants to buy an ornate old door for his stationery cupboard. It's a new couple, rather a young couple moving into their first house together, I would assume, and yes, stationery cupboard, ornate door, why not? Cushing says it's a very good choice and that it used to be attached to a room that was blue. And so the door is delivered, attaches it to frame of stationery cupboard because he can afford it, that's what he wants. But the contents of the room, or rather the stationery cupboard, of course, begins to change. And his girlfriend, or wife, I'm not entirely sure, his partner, his significant other, of course doesn't believe him initially. He reads in a book that a man who lived at the time, I believe it's Charles I, possibly Charles II, but I'm almost certain it's Charles I, managed to discover the secret to necromancy. And in this blue room, he eventually comes back to life. With the desire to kidnap this poor man's lady. And he does not get away with it. So, because this couple, or rather the man of this couple, did what he should, he was challenged but not punished. I suppose it's just illustrating the idea that you shouldn't mess with interesting artifacts. But that's not to say that you will be entirely doomed by them if you have a good heart. So I suppose it has a little moral character to it. In the epilogue of the story, a man comes into the shop intent on robbing Cushing, but he's able to outwit him when the man falls into a coffin. The man tries to shoot Cushing, but of course is not able to do so, because this figure is likely not all he seems. At the very end of the film, we have an amazing look in the eye of Cushing, very reminiscent of his portrayal of Frankenstein in The Curse of Frankenstein, just after he's killed somebody. And Cushing says something along the lines of, I've got lots to tempt you, plenty of offers, plenty of bargains. I'm always open. And then I can't do it, but he gives this look to the camera, and his shop is called Temptations Limited, and underneath it is written on the door, offers you cannot resist. If I had to put the portmanteau films that I have discussed within this series into a kind of an order, you see, I came up with, it took me a long time and it was very painful to do, but I did come up with an order the last time I filmed this, last year. I think my favourite, without shadow of a doubt, is House of Drip Blood. And then I think I'm going to regret it after I've said it, and I probably said something else last time I filmed this, but I think we're going to go House of Drip Blood, From Beyond the Grave, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, Tales from the Crypt, and then Torture Garden. Father, if you are watching this, please comment a thumbs up if I'm right in assuming that your favourites are probably Tales from the Crypt and Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. I know that you do really like this one too, but I think you would probably say that your favourite would be no, I think I'm going to go with Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, very closely followed by Tales from the Crypt for your two main favourites. I've missed Asylum. I've missed Asylum, oh bum. I think I put Asylum before Tales from the Crypt. Forgive me, Father, if I am indeed correct. Thank you ever so much for watching. Apologies that it's been such a long time since I last filmed a video, but I'm going to do my best to film at least one more before I go back home for the summer. Take care, everyone, and I will make it my mission to see you again very soon. Bye.